Waiting for my YouTube to show up. Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome to another book date. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. Actually, I'm going to say I might be lying to you a little tiny bit. This book is sad. I'm going to be telling you that right now, but it's also one of the most beautiful books that I have read in such a long time. This is one of those books that, as I read it, it made me think. It is a great window book because this is a book where the main character is Filipino-American. I'm not Filipino-American. I don't know much about the culture. I don't know too much about a lot of things that come with that identity of being born in one country and then going to another and kind of being caught between both worlds. That's our main character overall. And on top of that, what I love about this book is that it so graciously talks about the concept of colonialism, the concept where we have tons of backlash or negative things that have happened because of colonialism or white people, Europeans, settling in other areas throughout the world and enforcing people to have their ways, controlling rule over them, taking away the initial culture and a lot of freedoms, and then suddenly pulling back. That's a very big concept to try to talk about, and it's very easy to get into something that might be a little preachy or a little long-winded, but here's what I love about this book is that it's so beautifully written that even though I'm not a part of this culture, even though this isn't going to make it the easiest for me to understand, it's one of those books that brings you into the story, brings you into the tragedy of it, but also it brings you into the beauty of it. It brings you into the point where you walk away feeling like you might know more than you did when you opened the book. And there's a power to it when that happens. I'm not saying I know everything now about the Filipino-American culture. It's really all this book has done is opened a door. But without this book, that door wouldn't have been opened for any other reason. So with that, we are going to get into the Patron Saints of Nothing. I do want to give a trigger warning that if you do continue reading this book, please know that there are trigger warnings of drug use, all right? And kind of what it means to have a war on drugs and what that might look like, all right? So, Patron Saints of Nothing by Ribay. It was a day of soil, sunlight, and smoke. Curtains thin as bedsheets glowed gold as roosters called out from the backyard on the other side of concrete walls in single-pane windows. On the floor of the room, my father and his two brothers shared growing up. My mom held me as I held a lifeless puppy and cried. The oscillating fan hummed, blowing warm air on us every few seconds. I was 10, and it was my first time back in the country where I had been born. A few days earlier, my family had driven the 11 hours along frightening roads from Manila to Lolo and Lola's house on the Bicol region. When we arrived, we found that their dog, an unnamed mongrel chained to the cacao tree out back, had just given birth to a litter of puppies. Only one lived. The mother refused to care for him, so I had taken the task upon myself. I held him close to keep him warm. I tried to feed him by hand, dipping my finger into a bowl of evaporated milk, then offering a drop to the puppy's impossibly small mouth. However, the puppy would not drink the milk. Maybe because the grief from losing his brothers and sisters, or maybe because of his mother's rejection. Whatever the reason, his breathing grew shallow. His movements slowed. Each time he blinked, his eyes remained closed for longer and longer until they never reopened. At that point in my life, I encountered death only in fiction. I had heard about other people's relatives dying, but I'd never seen death up close. I had never held it. Listen, Mom said in the moment and hugging me closer. So I did. Baby birds chirped just outside the window. One thing dies, and another is born. Maybe the puppy's soul now has wings. Gradually, I calmed down and stopped crying, but I still felt heavy with sadness as the warmth left the tiny ball of brown and gray fur still cradled in my arms. When I finally stepped outside, almost all my Filipino titas and titos laughed. Not in a mean way, I think, but more like it was amusing that a dog's death affected me so much because it was nothing to them. Another day, another dog. My cousins did not need to have someone stroke their hair and reassure them that death was part of their life. It wasn't long before the family's attention drifted away to like smoke from the garbage that being burned a few houses down. My brother and sister resumed the card game of speed that he'd been playing. My dad and Lolo returned their attention to their bottles of San Miguel. My mom gave me my shoulder one last squeeze and then went over to the outdoor kitchen to help Tita Chato, Tita Ami, and Lola finish preparing lunch. Tito Danilo rested a hand atop my head and spoke to finding comfort in God's love, while Tito Manning told me to stop crying and look away from the puppy's limp little body. He returned a few minutes later, brushing his palms as if he had just taken out the trash. He moved to pet the puppy's mother and then walked past, but she shied away. He continued on, took out a new bottle of beer from the cooler, and sat down next to Dad and Lolo. Tito Danilo stood by in awkward silence for a few more moments before joining them, leaving me there alone. But I was not alone for long. My cousin June walked over and hugged me. "I am sad too, Kuya-Jay," he said, using the older brother designation, which never seemed right. I'd been born only 3 days before him. Besides that, he was one of those people who had moved through the world as if he had been around for a long time. An old soul, they say. I almost asked June what his father had done with my puppy, and then he had gone to its brothers and sisters the previous day. But I didn't. I can only handle so much truth in any given moment, I suppose. So instead, I said nothing. He looked at me with sympathetic eyes so brown they were almost black. "Do you want to go inside and read comics?" I nodded, grateful for the chance to escape from everyone without being by myself. He threw his arm over my shoulder, and we went inside, and we read comics. A few days later, the vacation ended. I flew back to my pine trees, overcast skies, and Michigan winter that could sputter till May. My tan faded, my tongue forgot the taste of tocino and Tagalog. I stepped from the Cinellas and back into my suburban life as if I had never left. Chapter 1. Wisdom from on High. Seth and I are walking across the roof of my old elementary school, which is covered in a layer of round stones that knock together like skulls with each step. A charcoal overcast sky hangs overhead, and the air is warmer than usual for mid-April. We reach at the end of the roof and sit down on the ledge. Seth takes up about twice as much space as me because he's basically a bear in human form. The kind of white kid who's been shaving since middle school and who spent the last 4 years rebuffing the football coach's recruitment attempts. Meanwhile, I'm the kind of senior sometimes mistaken for a freshman. We settle in and fall quiet, letting our legs dangle over the west side of the building. It's the quietest side, the one that faces the unlit field that stretches out past the darkness at our feet. The playground and parking lot are to the south, while the neighborhood pushes up against the other two sides of the building. Even though I'm the one who lives nearby, it was Seth who, in the summer before we started high school, first realized we could get up here by climbing the fence that surrounded the HVAC units. I wouldn't do it the first time because it was the middle of the day and I was afraid of getting arrested. But he eventually persuaded me to go back later and climb it with him under the cover of darkness. It took a few more trips before he could convince me to sit on the ledge. The school's only 2 stories high, so if we jumped, we'd probably only sprain an ankle or something. But it was high enough to make me feel scared back then. High enough to make me feel philosophical now. It's been our nighttime hangout spot ever since. Seth swings his backpack around so it's in front of him like a kangaroo pouch and starts rifling through. It's Friday night, so I've got a good guess about what he's looking for. Sure enough, a few moments later, he pulls out a joint, grinning like he's reuniting with a long-lost friend. He lights it and takes a hit. He holds the smoke in his lungs for longer than seems possible, and then exhales slowly, letting the thick smoke unfurl in the evening. He offers even though he knows I'm going to decline. This time's no different, so he simply shrugs and takes another hit. Not that I have anything against it. My desire to smoke has not yet surpassed my greater fear of getting caught. The wind picks up, rustling the leaves that surround the trees and tossing out our hair. I reposition myself upwind so I won't go home completely reeking of pot. We sit like that for a long time, sinking back into silence when we consider our numbered days. With spring break around the corner and then only a few more weeks until graduation, the future is a wall of fog obscuring the horizon. Oh, shit, said Seth. I almost forgot. Hold this. He hands me his joint and then roots through the bag again. This time, he pulls out something in a white plastic shopping bag. He tosses it to my lap, despite me only having one free hand. I catch it without falling off the ledge. Surprise, he says. What is it? I ask, passing back his weed. Open it. I reach inside and pull out a hoodie, soft and smelling brand new. I hold it up in front of me. It's deep yellow gold that's bright even in this darkness. And by the faint orange light of the parking lot lamps, I can read Michigan, printed out in bold capital letters across the chest. I force a smile. Oh, cool. Thanks. I refold it, stuff it back into the bag, and set it to the side. He turns and stares at me for a beat. That's it? What? Cool? Yeah, it's cool. I appreciate it. Thanks, Seth. Not gonna put it on? He asks. I can't tell if he's actually offended or not. I'm good. He takes another hit, and he eyes still on me. Why aren't you more excited, dude? I don't know, I say. I should be. Every other seniors at school has been rocking their future college's apparel since the day their admissions decisions started to roll in. Still sad because of all those rejections? I shrug, lean back on my hands, and stare out over this quiet field. Seriously, dude, you're dumb as shit. Oh, is shit sentient? Oh, you know what I mean. Like, out of all the schools you applied to, how many were Ivy League? I don't answer. All but Michigan and Berkeley, right? He stares at his head. Didn't anyone tell you to apply to safety schools? I try to laugh. Come on, man. They weren't completely out of reach. Solid GPA and test scores, plus student government. Dude, you're a treasurer. So? Class treasurers don't get into Yale or Harvard. Some do. Maybe the treasurers who were also Olympic skiers or world championship Irish dancers or something. Whatever. You know how my parents are. They took the path of least resistance because I didn't send in those apps. They would have said they were cool with it, but they wouldn't have been. Can you imagine their faces if I told them I applied to some school like, I don't know, like Central? Seth finishes, smirking, because that's where he's headed in the fall. You know what I mean. You do know they have like 93rd best computer science program in the nation, right? That's certainly impressive. He flips me off, and I shake my head and laugh. I text my family the news this afternoon, right after I found out, because I could virtually hear the collective sigh of relief, the fact that I was finally accepted somewhere. My sister M replied first with, "Fuck yeah, baby bro," followed by like 50 exclamation points. Mom messaged, "Oh, honey, we are so proud of you. And watch your language, M." While from Dad, all I got was, I mean, it's not Harvard. Joke that wasn't fully a joke. My brother Chris still hasn't responded. I never wanted to go to schools with those schools anyway, I say, answering Seth's earlier question. It sounds super defensive, but it's true. I'm not sure what I want to do. For some reason, that's not okay. Everyone acts like 17-year-olds who don't have their career path mapped out are wasting their lives. I considered telling Seth all of this, but he wouldn't get it. Despite his slacker stoner vibe, he already knows he wants to get his computer science degree and then become a code monkey for Google or Facebook or whatever company becomes our new digital overlord. Besides, Seth and I have been friends for a long time, but we never got too deep into these things. We hang out, play video games or basketball or whatever, and that's pretty much it. If something's bothering one of us, we never really talk about it. We give each other space until things are cool again. Like sophomore year, when Seth's parents were going through a divorce. He never brought it up beyond mentioning once that it was happening, and I didn't push him to talk about it. There were months where the slightest thing would set him off, leaving their lunch trays on their tables instead of throwing them away, or someone failing to bag their dog poop on a walk. But eventually he returned to his old self. And if I had tried to get him to talk about it, it would have just made things worse. June, my cousin, was really the only person I ever talked about these kind of feelings. We used to share all kinds of things back when I used to write letters, actual letters, not emails or texts or DMs. Now I think about it, June should also be graduating this year, assuming he went back to school. I wish I had a way to find out what he's up to, but I don't. I messed that up a long time ago. I stand up, walk over to the south side of the building, and sit down on the ledge overlooking the playground. The swings sway slightly, and the wind whistles through the tube slide. I look down at my feet and lick the backs of my heels against the bricks. Seth eventually sits down next to me. He's done smoking, but the stench still radiates from his clothes. His parents know, but they don't care, which just blows my mind. A few moments passed, then Seth chuckles to himself. What? I ask. You know the Unabomber went to Harvard, right? Yeah, and tons of the buildings are named after eugenicists. So it's a good thing you're not going there. I laugh. He still thinks that's what's bothering me. A bird or a bat flits over Pet's head. The dog starts barking somewhere in the distance. The wind picks up again, but it doesn't die down this time. Much to my relief, Seth finally lets the college thing go and starts rambling about this top secret mod he's been working on for this first-person shooter we like to play. Without telling me what the mod does, he goes on and on about the specifics of the coding and the iterations he has to try before it all worked. None of it makes sense to me because I'm no programmer. After several minutes of this, he finally reveals that the mod replaces the rocket launcher with a cat, and so the rockets with babies. So the cat launches babies, I ask. He nods, cracking himself up. That doesn't make any sense. That's the point. I don't get it, I say. Exactly. I don't get you. Seth considers this. Does anyone truly get anyone, Jay? Deep, I say sarcastically. Nothing like wisdom from on high. Chapter 2. I sleep in on Saturday because I've got no plans beyond gaming with Seth later tonight after he finishes his shift at the sock store. I shuffle downstairs in my joggers and an old t-shirt after what I'll generously call brunch. Sink into the living room couch and fire up my PS4 to make some progress in this one-player game where you battle massive robot dinosaurs in a post-apocalyptic Earth. I don't know how many hours into this session I am when my dad's suddenly standing behind me, and he looks like he's learned to apparate. Jason, can you pause the game for a second? He asks. I'm almost at a checkpoint, I say. Jason. He starts, then falters. He tries again. Jason, I have something important to tell you. Hold on. I know I'm being an ass, but I'm pretty sure this is probably going to be about college or something I don't really want to talk about to anyone. Plus, I'm in that zone where fighting this mech T-Rex that's already killed me like a million times. Jay, he says. I slide down a hill and draw my bow and arrow, triggering the slow motion mode. I release 2 arrows in quick succession. Both hit the beast's energy cord, drawing heavy damage and narrowing its HP counter to a sliver. Yes, I say. Your Tito Manning called. He pauses. June is dead. My fingers slow, but I keep playing. I'm not sure I heard him right. Wait, what? Dad clears his throat. Your cousin June. He's dead. I freeze, gripping the controller like a ledge. Suddenly, I feel like I'm going to be sick. On the screen, the mechanical creature mauls my avatar. My life drains to 0. The camera pans upward, mimicking the soul's skyward path. The words finally land, but they don't feel real. I feel like it was just thinking about my cousin last night. That's impossible, I say. I sit up and shift so I'm facing Dad. He's still wearing his nurse's scrubs. His salt and pepper hair is disheveled like he's been running his fingers through it. Behind his glasses, his eyes are bloodshot. I glance at them the time again. Mom's at the hospital, and he should be too. I thought you'd want to know, he adds. When? I ask, my chest tightening. Yesterday. I'm quiet for a long time. What happened? I mean, how did he? I can't say the word. He sighs. It doesn't matter. What? I ask. Why not? He's gone. That's it. He was 17, I say. 17-year-old don't randomly. He takes his glasses and rubs his eyes. Sometimes they do. So it was random, like a car accident or something? Dad puts his glasses back on, but avoids looking at me. He says nothing for a few beats, then quietly, what would it change if you knew? I don't answer because I can't. Doesn't the truth itself matter? I should be crying or throwing a controller down in anguish, but I don't do any of this. Instead, there's only a mild confusion, a muddy feeling of unreality that thickens when I consider the distance that had developed between June and me. How do you mourn someone you already let slip away? Are you even allowed to? Since I don't know, I mirror the disturbing calm of my father, as I always do. We share the space in silence, but inside, I'm a plane with failing engines. He's gone, my dad repeats after some time. That's it. And then a nervous laugh escapes his lips. I try to process the information. June is dead. His life is ended. Here I am, sitting in my living room on the other side of the world, a can of Coke on the coffee table, playing a video game on an enormous wall-mounted flat-screen TV, college on the docket. Dad wanders away. Wait, I call after him. Can we get there in time for the funeral? He stops, over his shoulder. There won't be one. Confusion hits me like a wall. Why not? Your Tita Manning doesn't want to have one. The way he died, it's not our concern. What do you mean, I ask. But he's already gone, probably retreating upstairs. Left alone, my confusion turns to anger, which starts to grow with nowhere to go, like roots of a plant in a too small pot. I finally drop the controller and bury my face in my hands. I take a few shaky, deep breaths, but my heart continues to race. My jaw stays clenched and my stomach remains knotted. I think of all the letters we wrote to each other over the years. What did he say in his last one? I don't even remember. But this I'll never forget. I left it unanswered. How he lived. Not sure how long I sit there. I don't remember turning off the console, or at some point I realize the TV screen is blue, searching for input. Like a zombie, I drag myself upstairs. The door to my parents' room is closed. I knock. Dad doesn't answer. I knock again. Nothing. I try the handle. It's locked. I sigh. What happened to June? Silence. Dad, please tell me, I say. My words too thin, too pleading, like a stupid little kid. Still nothing. Is it possible that he's on the other side of the door, covering his face with his hands and crying quietly? Probably not. I've never seen him cry once in my life. Giving up, I retreat to my own room and reach under my bed and pull out my Nike shoebox all the way in the back behind some old board games that were worn out camel print book bag I used in middle school. I brush the dust off the lid and open it. The smell of old paper and ink blossoms beneath my nose. After my family trip to the Philippines when I was 10, June wrote me the first of what would become many letters over the years. The shoebox contains all of them, stuffed inside haphazardly, each one written in the same kind of yellow paper from a legal pad. I dump them out and sorted them chronologically as I search for the last one. Can it really be possible that the last person who sent me all of these is no longer alive? At this moment, there are letters that I wrote him sitting on the box somewhere, never to be opened again. I'm not sure how many of these I sent. Just definitely not as many as June because I wasn't great at replying. I might go 2 or 3 months before sending one, but June's arrived twice a month like clockwork. Every now and then he'd ask if we should message each other over email instead, because there were almost always a season's lag between when they were sent from and when they'd arrive. Plus, I think I would have replied more often than online. At first, June insisted because we write actual letters because they were more real. But later, he revealed that Tito Manning didn't allow him or his sisters to have social media or even their own email accounts. Eventually, I find the letter I'm looking for, the one dated in December when we were 14, shortly before June ran away from home. But I'm not ready to read it yet, so I set it aside and reread a few at random. Soon enough, my cousin feels alive again. His voice rings in my ear, and his face floats in the paper, just beyond his words, where he swam in the kind of feelings and thoughts most people spend their lives trying to mask from themselves. I remind myself that he's dead, that I'll never have the chance to write him again. But it's difficult to drop an anchor like that in reality. I start to feel untethered. I grab my phone and begin to text Chris, but I decide to call instead because I need to hear another human's voice. Except he doesn't pick up. Ever since he's got a new boyfriend, he's been MIA. So he's probably out with him or busy doing whatever a subsea engineer does on a Saturday instead of answering calls from his little brother. I glance at the time and decide to try text my sister, figuring it's late enough in the day she's probably recovered from whatever college party what she was at last night. M answers midway through the fourth ring when I'm just about to give up. "Hi, baby brother," she says, voice kind of groggy. I'm glad to hear it. Things were rough between us for a long time, but after she moved out, I've actually found myself missing her sometimes. "Hi, Em." Her throat clears. "What's up?" I draw my knees to my chest. Did you hear? It's possible that Dad texted her the news already, but it's equally possible he didn't. Our family doesn't talk much, and usually anything important gets passed along in fragments, so it feels like we're playing the telephone game, except a sadder, real-life version. There's the sound of shifting at her end of her line, and I imagine her tangled in the sheets, blurry-eyed and stretchy. Yeah, I texted you back right away, remember? But if you want to hear it directly from me, fine. Congrats! It means that we're rivals now." I'm confused for a moment, and then I realize that she thinks I'm talking about me getting into U of M. "No," I say. Yeah, thanks, but that's not why I'm calling." "Oh?" I run my hand through my hair. "June is dead." There's a long silence at the other end, long enough that I pull the phone away from my cheek just to check if I haven't lost signal. I haven't. I'm stunned about how hard this news has hit her. I didn't know that they were that close. "Wait," she finally says. "Is that one of those rappers you're into?" "What?" "No," I say. "Our cousin, June. Tito Manning's son? The one who lives in the UAE?" "No," I say. "That's Prince. He's like 12. June was my age." There's nothing from the other end. "The one who ran away from home?" I try. "Oh, yeah," she says, though I'm unconvinced she actually remembers which cousin I'm speaking about. "Him. Sorry, I'm hungover." I don't say anything. She sighs. "Well, that sucks, man." "Yeah, it does." "You were like pen pals or something, yeah?" "Yeah, we were." "So what happened?" And this is the right question, but not the right tone. It feels more like she's asking out of courtesy rather than out of compassion. And then it's the same tone people use when they ask about a fight at school. "I don't know. Dad won't tell me." "Go figure. What about Mom?" "At work still." "Maybe he OD'd," she suggests. I shrug, even though she can't see me. "Murdered?" I close my eyes. "I don't know." "I bet it was suicide," she blurts out. "You know how some Catholics are weird about that." I rub my eyes. This isn't even real to her. "Look, Em, I don't know. Maybe you're right. But this isn't a joke, okay?" "Chill. I didn't say it was, baby bro," she says, just trying to help. "Great. Thank you. I feel so helped." "Don't be a dick. You called me." I don't say anything, but I'm reminded why we had trouble getting along growing up. There's silence on the line for a few seconds. Whatever. Anyway, you're going to love college, dude. It's like infinitely better than high school. Nobody forces you to go to class and you can party as much as you want. You buy any Wolverines gear yet? State's way better at football, by the way, and basketball and pretty much everything else. I'm quiet for a couple beats. I've got to go, Em. Sorry I woke you up. I'll let you go back to sleep. Okay, she says, drawing out like she has no idea why I'm upset. Thanks for telling me about June, I guess. Yeah. Take care, baby brother. And I'm sorry but this happened. The thing is, she's not. Maybe she's sorry I'm sad, but she's not sorry he died. She didn't know him like I did. Did anyone? Bye, Em. I end the call and she starts to shout something on the other line that sounds like, "Go Spartans!" And I stare at my phone wishing there was someone on my contact list I could call who would understand what I'm feeling. Someone like June. I find Seth's number, but I decide against it. I close my blinds against the early afternoon sun and climb into bed. Still fully clothed, I pull my sheets up to my chin and stare at the ceiling. I feel there's a heavy, oversized bolt lodged in the center, and I have no idea how to remove. Each time my thoughts go to June, the bolt turns and burrows deeper. I want to be held. I'm 17 years old, but I want someone to hold me like my mom held me when I was a little kid. Why is this hitting me so hard? Yeah, June and I wrote each other, but then we didn't. I don't know a single thing about his life in the last few years. He never reached out to me. I never bothered trying to find him. I knew that he ran away because my dad casually dropped the fact over dinner like a month or so after it happened. All of us, including me, were just like, "Oh, that's so sad," and then went on with our dinner and went on with our lives. I reach to the floor and pick up his last letter. I take a deep breath and reread it for the first time in years. 26 December 2015. Dear Kuyeje, I have not received a reply from you in 3 months. In that time, I've sent you 6 letters, counting this one. Maybe you have moved and forgot to give me the new address. Maybe they were lost in the mail and did not make it to you. Or maybe it is that you are too busy over in America. Now that you are in high school, you probably do not want to spend so much time writing letters to your faraway cousin anymore. Maybe you have a girlfriend. If so, I bet she's pretty and smart. Maybe you play on a sports team. If so, I'm thinking it is basketball because you are very, very much a good point guard. Much better than me. As for me, cousin, I'm sad or I'm down. But translating is hard, perhaps tired. The larger way you see it, there is a better word. Tired is my nane caring only about what others think of our family. Tired is my tati believing that he always knows what is wrong and what is right all the time just because he is a police chief. Tired is of the kids at school talking about music and TV shows and celebrities like any of it matters. What is the point, you know? People are sick and starving to death in our country, in our streets, and nobody cares. They worry about grades and popularity and money and trying to go to America. I don't want to be another one of those people who pretends like they don't know about the suffering, like they don't see it every single day, like they don't walk past it on their way to school or work. I wonder, do you ever feel like this? Anyway, sorry to annoy you with yet another letter. I'm thinking that maybe you do not want to do this anymore. If you do not reply, it's okay. I will leave you alone, but know that I would like it very much if you responded. Sincerely, June. And that's where we're going to end today. So, you can, like I said, this is a sad book, but you can see the vividness. You can almost feel exactly how he feels. This writer is amazing at bringing that together, to bringing those feelings, those complex emotions that we constantly struggle with, that we just can't get out. There's not the right word for it, but he does such a good job at introducing that. And I really encourage you to keep reading this book. Like I said, it is heavy, so I'm going to try to balance it out with something a little bit more fun at the end of starting tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Thursday. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Stay tuned. Stay awesome. It's great to see you. Bye.